Welcome to Context Clues lesson number 2. Please make sure you put your name and date on your paper first before you begin. Go ahead and do that now. Also, please check your tracker and make sure that you have completed Context Clues lesson 1 before you start Context Clues lesson number 2. If you have that checked off, then you are in the right lesson. Okay. Let's go ahead and start by reading a review of what context clues are. Okay, it says finding context clues. Review what you have learned about context clues. When you use context clues, you think about what you do when you use context clues. We're going to put a definition of that there. Go ahead and think about that, and I'm going to give you a second to write down what you think, and then you can check it with the actual definition. Okay, the completion of that sentence is when you use context clues, you find the meaning of an unfamiliar word by looking at the words, phrases, or sentences around the word. Go ahead and make sure you have that definition of context clues written down before you move on. If you need to push pause, go ahead and do that now. Okay, to use context clues, figure out the topic of the passage. Let's go ahead and write topic now. Look at the surrounding text for clues to the meaning of the word you do not know. Let's write in meaning. Replace the unfamiliar word with a familiar one to see if it makes sense in the sentence. Go ahead and write in familiar and sense now. Okay, after you write in familiar and sense, let's go ahead and look at the next directions. It says, read the following passage. As you read, look for context clues that help you figure out the meaning of originate. Underline the clue that means almost the same thing. Okay, so we're looking for the meaning of originate. Let's go ahead and read the paragraph. Since 1994, researchers at the Center for SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, research have searched space for signs of intelligent life. And in 1995, an interesting signal was there. The scientists thought it was worth checking on. Their equipment found it every evening, so they checked. The signal originated from intelligent life. Disappointingly, though, it came from life on Earth. The signal was from the microwave oven downstairs. It happened every evening because people were heating their dinners. Researchers put a note on the microwave. They asked people not to use it when they were searching. That low-tech approach solved their high-tech problem. All right, so we're going to use this graphic organizer to identify context clues. Then write the meaning of originate. So word, we already wrote it for you, originated. Context clues, we need to find the context clues, write them in there, and that will lead us to the meaning of the word originated. Let's go back to the passage and look for the word originated. I see it right there in the middle paragraph. It says, so they checked. The signal originated from intelligent life. Okay, so I see before they're checking where did the signal come from, right? They were getting a signal every evening, so they checked. Then they found the signal originated from intelligent life. So I know that this word from is a context clue. So originated from means that you're looking for it came from something, okay? So disappointingly, though, it came from life on Earth. So they were disappointed that it actually came from life on Earth. Okay, so it didn't come from outer space. So these three words let us know what the context clue means. I'm going to put it down. So they checked. Go ahead and write this down also. From and came from. We see that word from again. Okay, so looking at my context clues, I can figure out that the meaning originated means the same thing. It's a simile for came from. So I'm going to write in came from. Then I'm going to reread the sentence and make sure that that makes sense in the sentence. So they checked. The signal came from intelligent life. Disappointingly, though, it came from life on Earth. Okay, so that does make sense, and I know that that is the meaning. Once you have all of these notes taken, you are ready to turn over your paper and start on the back. Let's go ahead and look at the directions first. It says, use what you learned. Okay, so we're going to use what we just learned about context clues to complete this page. Read the passage, then answer the questions by looking for context clues. On a separate sheet of paper, make a graphic organizer to organize your thoughts. Okay, so if you would like to organize your thoughts on a graphic organizer, you have some space down at the bottom, or you can turn it back over and use the same graphic organizer right below it to help you. Let's go ahead and look at the passage first, and then we'll look at the questions. It says, under U.S. law, the country has 6 time zones. What government agency do you think is in charge of them? You might be surprised. It is the Department of Transportation. What does travel have to do with time zones? Before 1883, every town had its own local time. The point when the sun was highest was called noon. A public clock, maybe on a tower or steeple, was set to that time. But then the railroads were built. People could travel much faster than by foot. Railroad lines crossed the continent, connecting east and west. The schedules involved myriad local times, very many of them. Passengers were confused. Things had to be simplified. On November 18, 1883, the U.S. started using 4 time zones. After the country asked Alaska and Hawaii, the number grew to 6. Faster transportation created a need for standard time zones. Therefore, the Department of Transportation has authority over them. All right, so let's look at number 1. What context clues help you figure out the meaning of myriad? What does myriad probably mean? All right, let's go ahead and look at our context clues and then figure out what the meaning is. I see this sentence right here. It says, the schedules involved myriad local times. Then it has a dash, very many of them. So this is a context clue letting us know the definition of myriad. Okay, so it probably means very many, right? Let's try that. The schedules involved very many local times. Okay, that lets us know. Go ahead and answer question number 1 in a complete sentence on the line. Number 2, what does it mean to be a passenger on a train? Let's go up and find the word passenger. Oh, here it is. It says, passengers were confused. Things had to be simplified. Okay, so I don't see any words in the sentence, passengers were confused. Okay, I do know if people are confused, then it's probably something that's a human, right? So it's not an object. Passengers are people. So what kind of people? Passengers were confused. Things had to be simplified. Well, what are we talking about happening? Let's look at the sentence before. The schedules involved myriad local times, very many of them. So we're talking about the schedules for the train were varied, right? There was a lot of different schedules and passengers were confused. So what people would be confused by train schedules? Probably the people who ride the trains. So I'm going to guess that passengers probably means people who ride the trains. Okay? Go ahead and answer number 2 in a complete sentence on the line. Push pause so that you can write it out. And when you're done, you can move on, push play, and we'll do number 3 together. Number 3, use clues from the passage to define the word authority. Let's go look at the word authority. There it is in the very last sentence. Let's read that sentence. Therefore, the Department of Transportation has authority over them. Okay, so we know that it's talking about the Department of Transportation has authority over them. So over them is another context clue, right? Okay, so has authority over them. What is them? Well, let's look at the sentence before. Faster transportation created a need for standard time zones. So we're talking about standard time zones. So therefore, the Department of Transportation has authority over standard time zones. So authority, in this case, seems to mean that they're in charge of those time zones. So for number 3, go ahead and write your answer in a complete sentence on the line. Push pause now so you can do that. Now that you have questions 1, 2, and 3 complete, you are ready to move on to your quiz. Before you move on to your quiz, don't forget to check off lesson number 2 under context clues. This is context clue lesson number 2. Remember that for the quiz, there is no video lesson. You need to get the quiz. That's not the quiz. It is the quiz. You need to get the quiz for context clues, and it is 7 questions. You're going to complete it on the sheet of paper first. Then you will log on to Context Clues quiz and input your answers. After you hit submit on the computer, the correct answers will pop up. You're going to score your answer on this paper sheet, and then you're going to write in your score right here. Okay, I'm going to look down here and see if I get between 5 and 7, I don't have to do lesson 3, and that means I'm ready to pick a new topic. If I get between 0 and 4, then I do need to do lesson 3 of context clues. Okay? Make sure you're following the lesson cycle on your sheet tracker before you move on.